we get started. You guys all are here for the panel regarding mentoring and education and how it doesn't just end after graduation, but it's something you do throughout your whole career. So we have invited some experts here for you today to hear all about mentoring and education, how it continues to allow their careers to flourish. So I'm going to introduce you to your moderator of today's panel, Larry Katz.
Good morning, everybody. How's it going? So yes, I'm Larry Katz. I'm a film grad from here at Full Sail. I graduated in 2000, class of June, and super proudly inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2014. So I'll ask you guys to go ahead and introduce yourselves and degree program and when you graduated.
Perfect. I'm Keith Guerrette. I graduated from the computer animation program in 2004 and the entertainment business program in 2005.
Leslie Brathwaite. I graduated from the RA program in 1992. I'm a mix engineer, proudly inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2010.
Ashish, Manchanda, 90s, 97, recording arts. That's it.
So this is a panel about education and about, being a mentor and being a student. So, I wanted to just kind of ask you guys, what kind of student were you when you were at Full Sail? Because I can remember, there was students that sat in the front row. There were students that were in the back row that didn't really seem like they were paying attention. There was, students that spent a lot of extra time working on other kind of projects. So what kind of student were you when you went here?
I was super young, but just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I mean, I came here and I knew that I was going to get out of the school what I put into it. And so I just pushed myself. I actually stood up through every single lecture that I went through because I was afraid of falling asleep because we were working around the clock so much. And I did fall asleep standing up a few times. There's one time that I fell over, but I fell into a chair. But no, I was definitely trying to give it my all. The problem with my attitude was I approached it as a perfectionist, and I was just thinking that I had to do everything and I couldn't fail at anything, which in a creative field and all of this is a creative media, you have to give yourself that boundary to safely fail. And I didn't allow myself that as a student. That was something that I had to learn a little bit later as I matured.
Cool.
For me, I never left campus. And one thing I don't, understand sometimes is we talked about it yesterday, and you kind of alluded to the fact that sometimes at night the campus looks a little scarce. And I know it's a different time now than it was in 1992, and but I never left. And if labs were available for me to use, or there were facilities available for me to use, I was beating down doors, asking if I could be around. Even if I couldn't specifically be on equipment or in a lab, I would be in the hallway studying. So I just wanted to be here. I wanted to be surrounded by it. Yeah. I wanted to have the opportunity for a teacher to walk by, and if they looked like they were in the mood and they said hi a certain way, hey, can I ask a question? Or, Gary Jones would be running around the halls buying people coffee at random times of the day, so that was always great. And I always wanted to be here. I was one of those immersive learners. I just wanted to always be around campus. I never wanted to do anything else.
How about you, Ashish?
Pretty much the same. If there was a bed over here, I don't think I would have gone home. And like Leslie said, I think we were the first to arrive and the last to leave. Yeah. And used every time, every opportunity to be a part of any production that would happen beyond the classes. And I think just because we had to, we went home.
Right.
Sometimes. Otherwise, I don't think we would have gone home. And I like to take the director's seat where I used to sit on the last bench. I would say I was the ultimate observer. I'd love to observe everything, and you can do that from the last bench, so from the first bench.
And also, too, I was big on using the resources available to me. So career development, that's how I got to know Tammy so well. I was always in her office. That's the one thing I wanted to stress, too, is use the resources that are available to you here at school.
That's definitely worth highlighting. Right off the bat, the moment you guys walk into the school, you have a set of people whose entire job is to mentor you and coach you.
Yeah.
To help get you through the technicalities that the industry requires of the resume. And just they should be the very first people you guys are befriending. I think most of us have had amazingly positive job experiences because of them.
Absolutely. And, it's important, you guys as students really need to maximize your experience here. And so, again, if you're wandering in late to your classes, if you're missing classes, If the second class is over, you can't wait to run home, then you're not making the most of your experience here. And, just graduating and getting a diploma and getting good grades, to me, that's the bare minimum. That's putting in the minimum effort here. It's not enough. Maybe at another university, that might be enough, but, maybe I'm preaching to the choir because the 11 people that are here probably are the ones that are making the most of it. I think it's a really valuable educational tool to mentor other people even as you're a student.
Yes.
When you're teaching somebody else to do something, you're learning how to do it even better. Did you guys have any experience with that when you were students here, with mentoring other students and helping them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, teaching is always the best way to learn, and it's not just because you have to be able to regurgitate the information, but other people, my peers, my superior, everybody, I'm getting different questions and different ways of thinking about things that I never would have considered, and so you kind of just round out when you're having those discussions with people. Also, there's so much, passion is very contagious. I mean, I was talking with some people as we were walking in that I really miss being in a team environment, just surrounded by people that are also passionate about something. It's really easy to wake up in the morning on my own and think nah, I'm gonna go do this and do, dilly-dally basically. But the moment I go to work and I'm surrounded by people that are excited to be there, it's so easy to just take off with that. And that's absolutely the same thing with being a student. I think the fact that you guys are all here and you guys have that community, it's so easy to find people that are sharing that passion, and you just you take off with each other. It's funny as well to see classes that if you have one or two good students, there's usually a whole group of good students. They don't come like individuals. There's a chunk of them that all graduate together.
Yeah, and that synergy is important. And just like he said, just as much as I've had students super excited to walk up to me and meet me and talk to me, I'm excited because you're excited. The energy just starts, transferring, and I get rejuvenated, and I'm just as excited to share the information with you as you are to get the information. And that kind of stuff I tell people all the time, and I think Troy referenced it in his Hall of Fame speech, one of our other fellow Hall of Famers. He referenced it in his speech where he was saying a lot of people don't realize how many, uber famous, mega famous stars and your mentors and people that you really look up to, you don't realize how they would love for you to, bend their ear, or they'll give you 20 minutes of their time and talk to you. And a lot of times that's all it takes is you coming up to them and, just for us to see the passion in your eyes and to look at you and answer a question and see how excited you are to get the answer and to get the information. It excites us just as much to be able to provide it.
I know, Leslie, that you take great pride in being a mentor and a teacher, but did that start when you were a student here? I mean, would you educate some of your peers even at that point?
Definitely, all the time. I mean, that's just a big part of, and like he said, it was a big part of the energy in the room and being a classmate and kind of helping that energy to reverberate throughout the room. And, yeah, definitely.
How about you, Ashish? Did you find yourself, even as you were a student, kind of falling into the role of a mentor and a student while you were here?
I think mentoring and training and teaching it's a very interactive process. Yeah, it's very interactive. Also, somewhere, I think I started realizing that, there's an old saying, you're known by the company you keep.
Mm-hmm.
So we expanded on it and we say that you become the company you keep.
Yeah.
So if you keep good company, you're going to turn out pretty okay. If you don't keep good company, you're not going to turn out pretty okay. It's going to be difficult because no matter how much we think that we are strong, you are going to be influenced by your closest environment. So it's a smart strategy to surround yourself with really good, really smart, and really caring people. So I think at every stage that was something that we actively tried to do. Because
it's a great point, and I mean this kind of rolls right into networking, which is one of the most important things that you can do. And you need to be evaluating your peers, and who are the people that you think are going to be successful and who are the people that you want to surround yourself with. And I pointed out all the time, it might be different from the people that you want to hang out with and party with. it's not called show friends, it's called show business. And so you want to really evaluate the people that you surround yourself with. I did want to touch on one thing that Keith mentioned about being afraid to fail. You know, there's a kind of a stigma about failure that it's a negative thing, but you know, really smart people want to fail quickly because that's how you get smarter. So don't be afraid of that, especially as students. I mean, you have to fail to get better. So don't be afraid of that. And you know, the smartest people in the world, you know, do have a lot of failures to get smarter. So
there was one good thing at Full Sail that I found, that some of the early instructors, when we were there, they said that you know, there's no question that is stupid. It will be stupid if you don't ask your questions while you're here. So this is the time when you should maximize your, as they've already said, you know, there are fantastic resources over here, very good trainers over here, you have lovely mentors over here. You must use this time during this year to maximize your skill set. Here, learn to be better at what you do, become a better person. So use all the time, and it's better to slog now when you're starting out than to slog in your later years. So the better prepared you are today, the more skill sets you garner today is going to help you later on in your life, when maybe some people are still struggling to get their skill sets going. So it's a smart strategy in your life to maximize and slog it out right now so that you don't have to slog in your later years.
And with the networking too, I wanted to kind of say one of the key points to networking, and one of the most important components to network, is make sure you network outside of your comfort zone. Don't just network within your degree program. If you're an RA, network with some video students and some game students and some, you know, business students. Don't just stay within your degree program, because that's where the real magic happens, when you make the real connections.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out that the lectures that you guys have here, the teachers to student direction of education at the school, is probably one of the least valuable components of being at this school. Your surroundings here, your peers around you, the cross-disciplinary connections you're going to make, those are going to prove to be so amazingly valuable as you all go out and branch out into this industry. I mean, one person succeeding is going to drag so many hundreds of people out into the rest of the industry, cause influences and ripples across the industry. It's those connections that I think I've come to cherish the most from my time when
And I have 4 classmates that graduated with me, well, 3 that graduated with me in '92, and 1 that graduated, you know, a few months before, after, I can't remember, that have all put me in a position to make money throughout my career. 3 direct classmates.
I want to just throw in one more thing to your earlier question about failing. I've come to have this sort of broad philosophy that everybody hits success on the 100th iteration. The people that don't succeed are the ones that don't get to the 100th iteration, which means that you're going to fail all 99 times until you get to that 100th time. The studios that make projects that do well, they're the ones that spend the time early to fail safely over and over and over and over again until they get to that point of success. That's just been my experience. That, you know, 100 is a little bit vague, but like that philosophy has to permeate through what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it's definitely a part of the process and not something that should be feared. So
there's something about a mentor, how you can identify a mentor. No, not everybody can be a mentor. Okay, a mentor is someone you know that truly is interested in your well-being, and it's unconditional. That's what I've experienced.
So,
there's no give and take. There's no accountability. Yeah, they're not looking for something back. I think a great mentor, where you can help, if it helps identify, you have to, this person genuinely looks after you and is interested that you do really well. So it is a blessing. I cannot tell you how important it is to have a mentor at a good point in your life and at every point in your life. So we all need mentors.
Who was your mentor? And you know, I'm sure every one of us can think in our careers of 1 or 2 very influential mentors. So who was yours, Ashish, and how did you end up with that mentor?
I think when I started out as a drummer, and I was I think as an engineering student at that time. I was doing electronics, And there was this drummer back home in India. His name is Brathwaite. So the most phenomenal drummer. He's now with John McLaughlin in the Fourth Dimension, and with an artist from India called A.R. Rahman. So Ranjit was the most influential percussionist I had ever seen in my life. And the day I went up to him as a kid, he just embraced me and took me on just because of maybe he saw some spark in me. And I've been working with him for almost 27, 28 years.
How'd you make the initial connection?
I just went up to him at one of his concerts. He had come to our city in Pune. And I mean, we had started playing with the band and we thought we knew a lot. And I think the most challenging song we played was Hello by Lionel Richie. We thought like, you know what, we are at the top of the game.
Right.
We know it all. This is, I mean, we are gods. And then we went for this concert, and I remember I was so overwhelmed, and they were playing so much progressive music. I didn't understand anything. There was not, I mean, it was a vocabulary, it was from some other place, some other planet. And I was just so, in 1 second, you know, everything just dropped. And I was like, you know what, I actually do not know anything. You know, I just don't understand. I thought I knew something, but I'm like, how the hell can somebody do what they just did in front of me on the same thing that I sit every day? And I was totally overwhelmed, blasted, humbled, and trashed and crashed. And I went up to him, and he just embraced, and he said, oh, come to my home, and you know, I'm in Mumbai, and here's my number. And sure enough, you know, next week I went over to him, and we're still working today.
Wow.
We do everything today, and he would be my first mentor, I would say. And then at Full Sail, we had some great people. At that time, you know, from Dana to Eric Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And later, of course, once I connected up with Bruce Sudin, we all need mentors. How much ever we think that, you know, we can do it all by ourselves, I think it's your good luck, your good fortune to be associated with some special people.
Leslie, how about you? Influential mentors, and how did you end up connecting with them?
For me, it was one of the most influential people in my career was Dallas Austin. He was a super producer in the 90s. He's responsible for groups like TLC, Boyz II Men, ABC. He's done a lot of work with Madonna, Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin. I started interning at his studio for free. I started working there for free. And just worked my way up, and he was the guy that kind of pulled me along, and you know, we just became great friends. We had a great work relationship, and I learned a lot from him. And just, you know, being around him got me in the room with guys like Teddy Riley and Quincy Jones, and you know, all these other people who I you know, looked up. First time I met Quincy Jones, I thought I was gonna die. I was like, you know, my heart was like, oh.
That's pretty coul.
Yeah, it's Quincy Jones. I was like, oh shit.
So how'd you?
Ah, damn, I cursed.
How'd you connect with? How'd you connect with Dallas in the first place?
I just I got to Atlanta. I read an article while I was here at Full Sail, and I was like, you know what? I really want to work at the studio. I'd been hearing about Atlanta and hearing it was going to be the hot spot. This is in 92. I got there, went to another studio because I couldn't find, you know, Dallas's studio. It wasn't on the map. It wasn't in the phone book. Nobody knows what that is. I got there. Long story short, a reel came over to the studio I was at from DARP. I, you know, wrote down the address real quick and the phone number, went over there, walked in. The studio manager, he's looking real frazzled, a lot of stuff on his desk, and I was like, you know, I really want to be here. I want to come work here. He was like, well, I can't pay you. And I had heard him, while I was waiting to get in his office, he was, you know, bitching about the storage space that needed to be cleaned out. And I just, I saw a mountain of resumes on his desk. And this is kind of what Keith alluded to earlier about standing out. My thought process immediately went to, well, let me not hand this guy a resume because everybody else did it. Let me just offer him. I said to him, hey, I tell you what, can I clean out the storage space for you? And, you know, he kind of looked at me like, what's the catch? And I was like, I just want to clean out the storage space for you. I wanted to offer him my services, and I just wanted to be around. And I was like, look, if you just whatever I have to do to be around here, can I just do it? can I clean the floors? Can I go clean out the storage space? Can I do whatever? And the studio manager, he was like, all right. And I went and I cleaned the shit out of it, and I came back I cursed again. And I came back the next day, and he was so impressed with the job I did, and he was like, you know what, you can come around here every day. And he was like, I can't pay you. And I was like, you don't have to, because in my mind I'm saying, you don't have to pay me now because I'll work so hard that you'll want to pay me.
And that developed into the mentor relationship.
Yeah.
How about you, Keith? Who's been influential in your career?
I've definitely taken a slightly different path where I've just, I guess I'm an Army brat, and so I've moved around a lot in my life, and I've had a lot of extremely influential shorter relationships and mentorships at every different stage of my life, I think. And honestly, the single most important person in my career, I guess if I was to pick one, is I had the extreme fortune of meeting and working with Amy Hennig, who is the creative director of Uncharted, and now she's working and writing on Star Wars, and like she's an amazingly talented. There are people that you're going to meet as you move out in the industry when you just sit and have a casual conversation, and the words that are coming out of their mouth that are just genuine, like from their heart, from their mind, are so damn inspiring. Sorry, but like you sit there and you listen, and you're like, man. It's 7 a.m. I'm just drinking my coffee, but I really want to be a part of that. And she was one of those people, and she just planted this notion of what the craft of like what the medium of a video game can be. Not what it is right now, but what it can be, how we can actually use this medium to tell complex stories and to convey emotion, how we can actually make it into an actual art form instead of what it's been in the past. And I found that so captivating and inspiring.
So she was somebody that you actually were working with, or did you meet her before you started working?
I met her as I was going through the process of getting that job, and it was like I was between interviews and I was debating things, and the moment I met her, I was like, no, this is it. I'm going right there. I want to be a part of that.
That's awesome. For me, there was a book published right about the time that I was a student here, published by an assistant director, which is what I ended up becoming in film production. And this guy, Jerry Ziesmer, had been the assistant director on Apocalypse Now and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Jerry Maguire and Almost Famous, and was pretty much the go-to guy. And he wrote a book, and I read it, super page turner. And at the end of the book, in the back jacket, he had included his email address. And so I wrote him, and he wrote right back. And when I moved out to LA, I met with him and took classes of his that he gave at UCLA Extension, and he became a sounding board and a mentor over my career. So, there's a common thread here as far as finding a mentor. If you guys haven't noticed it, Ashish walked up to somebody. Leslie was bold enough to get the address off of a tape and make the approach. So, be bold, and like Troy said, you'll be surprised at who's willing to talk to you. So, pick a mentor and approach them in a way, but, be bold about it.
Don't be a stalker.
Don't be a stalker. There's definitely a fine line.
Don't make it uncomfortable.
And yes, there's there's no such thing as a dumb question. Well, there is actually such thing as a dumb question, I think. But more importantly, there's a bad time to ask a question. So even if you have the best, most cogent and relevant question, if you ask somebody at the wrong time, then you've blown that opportunity. So sometimes it pays to count to 10, look both ways, and and evaluate the moment.
I want to add something onto that. I think I've been very surprised as I've gone through my career how friendly and helpful people are. I mean, most people want to help.
Yes.
The only time that I really run into issues is if I somehow am disrespectful, but more specifically, if they're busy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only time that I've actually had people say, like, no, I can't answer right now, or I get shut off because I asked them something that would take days to answer. But like if you send someone an email and the answer that would help you tremendously would be like 3 sentences, guarantee you're going to get it. Unless that person, there's a lot of other extenuating circumstances, but it's really easy to get people to give you that type of guidance because we all want to share. Like we were saying earlier, like the act of sharing is, we get so much from that. Like that's why we're here right now. That's what keeps us going. So it's a very mutually beneficial thing. Don't be afraid of approaching people.
And we all and like we all do, all of our mentors, you always remember what you felt like in that position. So like I said, you'll be surprised how many people, the type of people, the caliber of person that will respond to you. Because they all remember. Quincy Jones remembered. I remember the first time I sat down and talked to Quincy Jones, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, man, he just took about an hour of his time to just sit here and talk to me. And then I thought about it, and I was like, he probably remembers what that feels like when he wanted an hour of somebody's time. So and that's how I feel now. When like Larry said, when people send me an email and then I respond, and the person's like, man, I can't believe you responded. And I remember what that felt like, you know?
I would say, you know, I can remember, you know, just graduating and reaching out to people and sending emails. And when I wouldn't get a response, you know, I would think to myself, how busy can they be? They can't even take 2 seconds. And then I would, like, write them off and say, well, forget it. If they're not going to take the time to answer me, then forget it. And now, and also thinking, I will never be like that. You know, if I ever achieve success, I'll answer everybody.
Yeah, right.
And then the reality is, when we get really busy, we want to, but sometimes things slip through the cracks. So it is important to be persistent, not annoying, not stalkery, but you know, always follow up. If you don't get a response, you know, it's not. You can't. It only hurts you if you say, well, if they don't want to answer me, forget it. And I had that attitude. I can distinctly remember, you know, reaching out to people and being very butthurt that they wouldn't get right back to me. Like, and you have to be persistent. You know,
and it's never you. It's never you. Like, when I'm busy, I'm not sleeping. Last thing I'm doing is checking my email and responding to strangers.
Right.
Well, we want to, but you just gotta follow up and say, hey, just checking in. I sent you that email last week.
I'm actually gonna throw out one more addition afterward. Like, this should be common courtesy, I think. But if you do get a response, say thank you. Like, respond. There have been so many times that I've spent. There was one student that I took like 4 hours to record videos and make a custom tutorial to help him get through the thing that he was asking me. No response ever.
Wow.
And that's it. I mean, you know that.
And now in the back of my mind, I've got a bad taste for that student, right?
Keith puts this, you know, person in another category, and once you're in that category, it's hard to get out.
You know what? You got to have courage to ask your questions or to get in touch with somebody.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't shut your doors, and later don't even allow anybody else to shut your doors. And let me tell you, if you think some doors have shut on you, there's some door which is ready to explore. So don't be. But you must have the courage to ask your questions and follow up with somebody or email somebody. And I think a lot of times, especially when we are starting out, we make our own roadblocks. And there's a lovely phrase somebody mentioned a few weeks back, and he says, let's not create our own emergencies. You know, so you'll be responsible for not getting something started. You know, just do it, you know.
So, in your careers, have you taken on proteges, mentees, you know, and, you know, kind of like, what's the criteria? How did they come to you? How did they get to be the lucky one that you chose to take under your wing? Have you guys had specific mentees?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've pulled people from everywhere, from schools, from junior positions at companies. To me, the biggest thing is like I said, we're all here, I suppose, because we get so much out of the opportunity to talk to you guys. Like, when I'm burnt out, I want to talk to people and I want to help them, and that excitement is super contagious, and it brings me back into the work. But if I find somebody that's hungry, that's going to work hard and wants it, and I can help play a role in shaping that and like giving that person the future that they're striving for, that's such an amazing and rewarding experience. So that's usually what I'm looking for, is just somebody that just wants it and is working hard. Like we were saying earlier, like, all you really have to do is just be fun, be friendly, and work hard. And if I can see that, I want to help you. It's a really easy thing for me to sit next to somebody that's working really hard and passionate and think, like, you know, I want to do everything I can to help make sure they get there.
So I mean, I think that we all are assuming that you guys have all a baseline. Everyone here has exposure to the same equipment and to the same classes and labs and stuff. So of course, the thing that Keith didn't mention is you know, you have to have talent. And you know, but we're assuming that the people that are at the school are talented and educated, but you know, it's everything that he mentioned just now is attitude stuff. You know, like so he didn't even. You hear he didn't even like say you have to be a talented artist. He said
That comes later.
Yeah.
so. That's write that down, put that in the bank. That's
And I think touching on something Keith, the theme of what he was saying, what Keith was saying is he wants to give to that person. And I think there's no higher call as a human being on this planet than service. And that's the thing I look for in people first, service. And like I said, the story I just told, I walked into somebody's office and I wanted a job. But my first inclination was, how can I serve you? How can I help you? How can I make your day better? And when I see that in people, when I see that service in people, it then makes us, and that's why we're all Hall of Famers, we all want to come and give back. And the whole theme of the week and the theme of Hall of Fame is service. And we want to help you. So I look for that trait in people that I want to hire or potentially want to mentor. That's the first thing I look for off the bat. What's their call to service? There's no higher call. Service. What can you do for others? And
for a project.
And we have that mentality, and I want to see that in the person I'm bringing along.
Ashish, have you had proteges and mentees in your career, people that you've taken under your wing?
Similar. I mean, I think there's a common thread in everything. And I truly believe this is the service industry. I think every industry is a service industry, actually. So if you go with that goal, I think that's a common goal for everyone. If you're making music, it's because you're going to affect people's life positively. You're going to enrich their lives' experiences, and you're also going to inspire them. So if you make like great movies, or if you make great visual experiences and musical experiences, it's going to touch people. I think it's the ultimate service. So we are here to serve people. This is just the wire media, and who else? Maybe if you're a few steps ahead of someone else, and so you can see the path behind you. So you can help somebody, you can just nudge them a little bit here and there so that they get on track well. Yeah, and I think it's great. I was reading about Steve Jobs, and it's like when somebody goes to an Apple store, okay, versus somebody going to a Microsoft store. The Apple store is designed, when you come in, is like the concierge. He has designed, and I love reading about entrepreneurs. That's it's my passion.
Right.
Okay, as much as it was breaking down records and production tricks and arrangements and what everybody's done. So he studied the hotel industry, which is all about service. And he said, when people come to our store, when people are going to come to my Apple store, we need to look after them. So which is the best industry to imitate this from? It was not the computer industry. It was not the automobile industry. He says the services industry was the hotel industry. So the lobby, when you get inside the Apple store, is the concierge. And they're organized like that. And they serve you like that. So it's not rocket science, it's a lot of common sense, and the goal is to serve people. So at every stage, if you think that you want to enrich somebody's lives who's either coming in, it's just going to amplify what you're doing for the bigger service at the end where you're going to deliver. So the more they are, that's going to come in, and then you got to look after them.
Yeah.
I can remember early in my career, a number of producers and directors looking at me and my work ethic and my attitude and saying, someday I'll be working for you. So I'm wondering if anybody that you have taken under your wing has actually ever hired you or surpassed you, or.
I'll tell you a good story. So I'm at Dallas Austin studio at this point. This is, fast forward some years. I got a, good chunk of credits under my belt. I'm recording, I'm mixing, I got some TLC albums under my belt. I'm doing my thing. And then this little Jewish kid from New York sends me an email. Hey, Mr. Leslie, I want to come down. I live in New York, but I want to come down every summer when I'm off and intern. Comes down the first summer. He's great. He's wonderful. Great kid. Spot on. Same thing I said. If we walk through the door, what can I do for you guys? He was all about service. Next summer, and he drove from New York. He didn't have that much money to buy plane tickets, da-da-da. When I found out he drove the second summer, I flew him down the third summer. I was like, that drive has got to be brutal. So anyway, so he comes down next summer, great kid, third summer, he ends up. And I always, I treated him well. I made sure to bring him along. I follow the old saying, if you're going to open the door for somebody, bring them in, show them around, let them kick their feet up. Don't just open the door. So all of that. He ended up marrying Christina Aguilera. They have, I think, either 1 or 2 kids together. I think they're divorced now, but he ended up being in a position to tell her, hey, you should use Leslie to mix X, Y, and Z. And he ended up kind of managing her career for a while. And this was my intern at one point.
That's awesome.
He turned around and ended up putting some money in my pocket a few times.
Ashish, have any of your proteges?
Too many stories. You'll have to stop me. There was somebody who came in from, he had done his course in Canada, and my mom's a doc, and his dad's a doc in Pune, where my parents are. So I think his dad put in a word to my mom that, oh, you know what, your son is in this industry, and I'd just gone back to India. And he says that he set up his studio, and my son is coming back, so maybe he can, do something with him, or if he can get a job there. So met him, a very good guy. So he came, he worked with us for a few years, okay, and interned and then joined our company. And then later on, he went on to pursue a very successful career in live sound. A few years back, MTV Unplugged was going to start in India, and there's another show called Coke Studio. And he was busy, okay, and it was a big show. And I didn't even know that the show existed. It started off in Brazil. It had a very good run in Pakistan, and it was coming to India. And I wasn't really aware of the show. We were just in the studio that time. I didn't know anything that was happening otherwise. And he said, you know what, this show is coming up, and there was another music producer, Leslie Lewis, and this person's name is Fali. So they said that, why don't you take this up, because you've got the people, you've got a lot of manpower, basically interns and guys whom we just picked up along the way, and who want to come and intern and do service. Mm-hmm. Yeah, same thing. And we said, you know what, we actually have a team in place, and we can service a big show like this. And I'd already done Unplugged in New York for many seasons, so I already knew the format. And through him and this other person, we got this gig which got us through 6 years of work. And it was like major work and prominent work in the Indian subcontinent. This is one story. Check this out. So now the students, we have a little institute back home where we train sound engineers and music producers. And once we moved out of Unplugged and Coke Studio, and we are setting up our own IPs and the company is growing, a lot of our younger students are now recording the show. They're mixing the shows, the same shows that we moved on from. And they are hiring the next set of students, and young kids were coming in. So it's like the cycle is just continuing, and
pay it forward.
It's amazing. We're just sitting back and laughing.
Yeah.
Keith, any success stories of people that you had taken under your wing?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I love about the tech industry is that it's so quickly moving that we're all outdated a week after we do something. And I mean, it's scary, but it's also part of the exciting thing. And what that means is that everybody always has an opportunity to do work that's better than me. And so there have been so many scenarios that have just popped up where you teach somebody, and then a couple years later you run into them again, and they've just launched a multi-million-dollar product.
Oh gosh!
Like it's fascinating because the tech industry components of media is such a hive mind where I'm going to go out and I'm going to do something cool, and then I'm going to go share it, and all of a sudden everyone else around me is using what I just did way better than I ever would have.
Right.
And they're going to use it to some other new innovative end, and then they're going to share it, and I get to go back and be like, that's awesome, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to beat them again. And it becomes this like sort of friendly, collaborative competition where we're all pushing boundaries, and it doesn't really take much to do that. I mean, I'm like one failure away from having no reputation again and being back in the middle of this massive hive trying to just push and do something new again. And that's scary as hell again, but there's no complacency here, but that's really exciting, and it's like the fact that we're all doing it, we're all in that same struggle is really, again, contagious.
Right.
There's one thing I want to add to that. I think this kind of competition, this is very controlled and very nice. I think in Quincy's book, there's something about the time when I think jazz was at its peak. Where Miles would go to Coltrane's concert, and the next day Coltrane would be sitting down listening to Miles, and they were picking up from each other and throwing their things back at them and pushing them really hard, and they were like irritating them.
Yeah.
I think that's an upward spiral really fast.
Yeah.
You cannot be polite about some things. You go and they were, from what I read, and when you hang out with some fantastic people, they push each other. Push each other in such a great way.
Yeah.
It's not about being competitive, but it's about, you got this, check this out. And the next night you're playing at the same place, and you're throwing back the same chops and the lines to the guy from whom you heard it last night. It's so quick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these guys they're competitive and they're amazing, but they want their mentors to succeed. They want to be pushed. So, it's a constant, relationship. But just to be clear, for my students, I do not want to work for you someday, but I want you to be really rich and famous and send me money. Maybe thank me at the Academy Awards. That would be cool. But hopefully by the time you guys are successful, I'll be even more retired than I am now, if that's even possible. So, I've had students that moved out to LA, and we've got a couple, very successful film grads that are directors. We've got Darren, we've got Stephen Miller that are, creating amazing content and having huge success. And so I'll have students move out to LA, and their plan is to reach out to those guys. So to me, this is really putting all your eggs in one basket. And you can't do that. You have to have plan A through double Z. And so it's difficult for us to help a student who just says, hey, I'm here, help me. There's nothing that we can really do for you. You have to kind of get yourself started and then come with something to the table. Right. So have you guys had people try to approach you in that context? Like, hey, I'm here, help me. Can you help me? You said you'd help me.
And just like I said, I actually look for the opposite. I don't want to help you the first day. I'm busy.
Yeah.
How can you help me? Because I will help you, but I got to see the service in you. I got to see that. And that's just my process.
You guys have access.
Yeah.
You have access. It's there. But you have to, bring something to the table. You can't just, I don't think you can just have fallen off the Apple truck and said, say I'm here, and you said that I have access to you, so
and it's not about what you, I made a post the other day. This young lady came up to me at the career expo thingy, and me and Rick were there, and she walked up, and she was talking about she had a specific target in mind. She wanted to go work for Amazon, and that was her thing. And then she showed us her resume, and Rick said something I thought was brilliant. He was like, all right, this is cool, but, forget the resume. Walk into their office and tell them you want to clean their floors. You'll probably get a job. And she laughed. And I was like, no, he's actually serious. And again, rotating back to my way of doing things, which is if you walk into somebody's office and offer a service for free, very few people will turn you down. And a resume, still, I don't want to degrade the value of a resume, but a resume only tells half the story. It only tells what you've done. What I want to know is, what are you willing to do? And how well do you do things that you don't want to do? That speaks volumes about your character. If I give you something to do that you don't want to do, but you do it well, that's gold. So
I think there's a tremendous amount of value to sort of flipping your perspective on the relationship that's happening when you apply for a job. And the best thing you can possibly do is understand that if there's a job opening, or if Leslie hires you, it's because he needs something. And the only way you're going to get that job is if you can fill that need. Yeah. He doesn't really care. It's not relevant what you need or even what he personally needs. It's what his business and his product needs. Yeah. And it's probably at that exact moment in time, it's possibly going to be a holy shit, I need help. Sorry again.
That's 2 for Keith, 1 for Leslie. Ashish is keeping it clean for now. Thank you.
Damn it.
So far, so good.
Stop cursing. Shit. Stop saying shit.
There's 2.
Shit.
There's something that I wanted to say.
Anyway,
Yes,
you know, it's
Just say shit.
how you're perceived. So if you again, you have access, absolutely. But do you move to Atlanta and say, hey, Leslie, I'm here? Or move to Atlanta, you do the hustling, you do the scrambling, and in 2 months you say, hey, Leslie, I've been here for 2 months, and here's what I've been up to. I got this on my own. I've been scrubbing this guy's floor. And, I mean, there's a different perception. There's now you not saying, what can you do for me? You're saying, hey, here's what I did for myself, and here's how far I've gotten. And I think that really kind of, you're opening the door.
And just
for
like
yourself.
he said, it's about filling a need. What's the need of the specific person that you're trying to work for? Fill the need.
You know what? I'll just add on that. I think sometimes you create a need for somebody when they're already they're full and they're maxed out. Then what do? So I'll give you a little example. At Full Sail, this is where it happened first for me. I wanted to work on live sound. I love live sound. But in the first couple of months, I found out that all the positions are full. There was no place for anybody. Okay, and that time there was this place called Bennett at I forgot the name of the property, but Full Sail Live was over there.
Yeah, on Bennett Road.
Yes.
I think it's where my graduation
where the
Often
Roxy, the club is now. I think I don't know what it is now. Yeah.
So it was a less than perfect place, but the front of house position was taken, the system tech was taken, the monitor engineer was taken, every notable position was taken. So it's like, what do? And there are like so many kids ahead of me, you know, in the class. So how the hell are you going to get in? So here's what I did. So I have a little bit of like technical knowledge from my engineering background. I created a need, okay, and I did something that others couldn't do. Because of my tech background, interconnectivity for live. You know, you want to go from a balanced to an unbalanced. You need to make from an XLR. You want to go from SPDIF to AES. How do you make those connects? And I can make them in a jiffy because I understand that. Nobody else could.
I don't.
So, I could offer my services.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get a door inside. You know.
Can you get the bro rate at least?
Yeah.
I need that at my studio.
So we made a place. I made a place called Cable Heaven, and of course, to get noticed, it was with yellow gaff tape, and it was called Cable Heaven. Everybody could see it. Okay, so I made myself visible. Secondly, it was something that everybody needed at a live gig. It's like, oh, you know what, we need this, or this, we're getting hum, we need stuff like this, what can we do? I said, oh, for that, take this. I was like a doc. You want a quick fix, you do this. Oh, you want, okay, you got a digital something, okay, take this cable. So you created a space for yourself, which may not have existed before. So the idea is, if you want in, you better figure out a way, because there's always a way. If you really want a way in, you'll find many ways. So please be encouraged and have the courage to figure it out. Yesterday, we met a grad from LA, and he does sound for Post. And he said an interesting story, just like what Leslie was saying. He went to get a gig, and he found that there were already a lot of resumes on somebody's table. And he just said, he didn't give the resume. And he just said that, may I just have a look at the facility? Is there something that I can do? And he got the gig. Nobody wanted to go through the resumes. But here's the thing, when you put down everything on a resume, it has externalized what you have already done, like you so well said, that you've already done, and it brings clarity for you. So it's not actually about somebody else, it's just about you, how you've organized and prepared yourself. So don't undermine that, oh, the resume does nothing, it has prepared you one more step.
Right.
So then when the time is needed, of course you furnish it, but that's how you get a gig.
So what I'm learning from this is that the next time I need to hire someone, I need to be I need a big stack of resumes visible somewhere. I'm missing that beat. I keep. No, there's one thing that I want to just skew a tiny bit, because I feel like we're up here talking about a philosophy and like a way of life that we want to make ourselves useful. I don't want you guys to interpret that to mean that you should value your skill set as less. Like you guys are way better than needing to mop the floor.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're not saying that you're not worth a lot more. Your skill set here is worth a tremendous amount. You guys are extremely valuable employees. What we're talking about is a type of philosophy and sort of an approach to the work that says that, you know what, I want to do whatever it takes to prove to you guys that I am useful and that I'm going to work my ass off to be useful and to fill that need. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that nobody out here is interpreting us to say that you guys need to be mopping the floors after graduating from this school, because that's not at all the case.
And it's about rotating back to the original principle of standing out and going the extra mile. And
no one else is offering those things. Everyone else, they walk in, they hand in that resume, stick it on the stack, and say, sweet, see you later, did my deed for the day.
If everybody comes through somebody's door and they want something, the person that stands out is the person that offers something.
Yeah.
You know, you'll miss out an opportunity of growth in a very good way if you don't start at the bottom. You'll miss the point at some point for sure, and you would be building your foundation on what we call on toothpicks. Okay, so it's going to collapse at some point, and you can take this from anyone. If you're from the Ford family, if you read about them, they make their own family members start from the bottom and work their way up. It's not to become a specialist. Like the specialist mopping guy or the specialist transportation guy, but you need to know what it takes to make this organization work. And it's very important, especially in your formative years, to go through that step, the ladder. Don't look to bypass it. You will be doing yourself a disservice. So do yourself a service. Whatever point you start off from, do it well. You know, and you don't have to, he said so well that you don't have to stay down cleaning the mop and, you know, the floor all the time. Just understand and get prepared for the big time.
There's, like we said at the beginning, you know, there's no way to bypass paying your dues. You're going to have to struggle when you get out of here, and you're going to have to, you know, set yourself apart and make your own opportunities. And you'll hear every single Hall of Famer say the same exact thing in a different, unique way, but you know that's how it goes, and there's no way around that. So we've talked about our roles as educators, but talk about you know, how you're still a student and how you're still learning and how you stay current. You taking classes, you know.
Yeah, everything. I mean, like I said earlier, the tech industry moves really, really fast, and it is a weekly rat race for me, but. When I introduced myself, I said that I recently stepped away from Naughty Dog to explore the industry. I started a freelancing consulting business, and what it's done for me was incidentally one of the most amazing things that I'm blessed to have the opportunity to walk into so many other studios and learn. And just approaching every single day as a student has been one of the most phenomenal and just mind and life-changing experiences for me. But beyond that, I mean, every single time I do a new task, I have to look at the competition, see what the competition is doing, see what, like, trends change, art styles change, tech changes, everything what the consumer wants is changing. And the only way that I'm going to stay relevant and stay capable in my career is to constantly be learning and adapting. So yeah, I'm constantly taking classes online. I also teach classes just so that I can have as many conversations and get as many different perspectives. There's so many great resources available online just to stay relevant. I go to conferences all the time. I email people. Anytime I see a game or a movie that comes out with something that I think is phenomenal, I will email that person and just say, dude, congratulations, that was amazing. And then all of a sudden I've got a connection there. And the next thing I know, I'm asking questions like, how did you pull that off? You know, and I'm getting back feedback.
You see the difference between reaching out to somebody when you need something, as opposed to reaching out to somebody just to say, I love your work and great job. And in that email, Keith didn't ask for anything. He didn't say, can you help me? Here's what I'm doing. It was just, you know, so it's the way that you approach people makes a huge difference.
Yeah, same thing for my industry too. You know, in the music industry and mixing records, it's almost essential that you always have the student mentality because technology changes so much. And the young guys, when I come back to give lectures and I talk to students, I'm always slipping my questions in, like, so this new plugin that y'all learned about in school, like, tell me about this. What's going on? I learned how to use. There's a voice tuning software, Melodyne. Some of y'all might be familiar with it. I learned how to use Melodyne from students. I learned how to use a ton of plugins from students because when I came in the game, we were all on tape machines and 2-inch tape and reels and all this stuff. So as my career made progress, technology made progress, and then I always got to reach back and ask students and ask young guys walking the halls and everything else, like, hey, how you use this? How you use this? Most of my assistants taught me how to use all the tech that I use now and will continue to teach me how to use all the tech. That's just how it works.
Just as a really quick before I hand it off, just to chime in on that, like my company has spent millions of dollars building tech that already existed that we didn't know about, and we had an intern come in and be like, you know, Maya 2016 has this, right? And all of us like, what? Are you kidding? You know, like we're busy and we're focused, right?
Yeah.
And so other people coming in with their perspectives, we all have to be students, or else we're going to end up walking down a bad
And you got to listen to that intern.
Yeah.
You got to listen to that. You can't look at it like, oh, you're the low person on the totem pole. You don't know what you're talking about. You got to take that feedback. And just like you said, I'm sitting there tuning the vocals the old way one day in LA, and an assistant goes, you know, there's this thing called Melodyne. It makes your life really easy. You want me to show you how to use it? You know? And I could have either been dismissive and think that because I have all of my Grammys and accolades that I'm better than him, or take the route I did take, which is, please show me. I'm getting a free class in Melodyne. And then he turns around and gives me it for free, something that people got to pay $700 for. He was like, oh, and I can put it on your computer, and da-da-da. And, you know, so,
Awesome.
You know.
Ashish, I can tell that you're a voracious reader already of entrepreneurial books.
Yes.
What other things do you do to continue your education?
Oh, I surround myself with really good people. So somewhere along the line, okay, I've separated it out into two things. I think the principles do not change. So it's like, okay, it's like driving versus which car you drive. The car can keep changing, that's technology.
Yeah.
But how you drive does not change.
Great analogy.
Great, that's
So
excellent.
you still have the gear, the accelerator, the clutch.
So I'm gonna write that down.
You know, so that's constant, and that's you, and that keeps building up. That's your skill set and value. That's going nowhere. Technology can come and go. You've not learned to work only on one car, have you? I mean, you've not come to Full Sail to work only on an SSL desk, and then somebody says, "Oh, you know what? I have got this new software," and you say, "I cannot do that." You know what you know, okay? Hey. So I kind of separated it out somewhere along the line. So I know what I know, and then now when I need to vocal tune, or I'm current, or with all the new technology that comes, I just have such great people around me. I've got such great kids around me, and they do everything, and I'm just sitting and saying, you know what, I don't know how to do this, and somebody said, oh, I know how to do this, and they're just so eager to do it, and now they're doing everything, and I'm just sitting around and like, okay, that's good, that can be better, and that's why I'm here, and the work still goes on now. You know, so it's good.
You know, here are three amazing, prolific, successful paradigm of success, but you know what you need to take away from that is that these guys don't ever take their feet off the pedals and just coast. They're constantly getting better and constantly improving and constantly learning. So that never ends. And you know, you just have to, you know, continue to be a student no matter how successful you think you are. You know, there's always more to learn, and you have to stay current, you know, to stay on top of it.
One of the other things to throw out there is like, what we're doing is not a science, so everybody's opinion is valid because everybody is my consumer and my client. So
It's rocket
I can't
science.
have an ego. Like we have to always just approach everyone. What was that?
He said rocket science.
Okay.
I said science.
He cursed.
I said, no,
Say-
what we're doing is rocket science, because you know what?
See,
We make things so difficult for ourselves.
say shit.
Yeah.
Say shit.
Oh, no, I'm still on the greener side of the grass. So I'll maintain.
Okay, guys. Well, we're about out of time, but I think we have time for a couple questions.
Before
Does
we dissolve
anybody
much further.
have any questions? Nobody has. There's one. Okay, awesome. Atta girl. Here comes the microphone.
Remember, there is no question that is silly or stupid.
Start off saying shit.
This is a good time to ask a question.
I'm trying to corrupt everybody.
Hello. Can you hear me?
See? It didn't work. Say shit.
Shit.
Damn it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Who are you?
Sorry, peer pressure. I'm Beth Langley.
Hi, Beth.
I'm in the show production degree. Something that I find myself doing, I'm constantly going to new places and new environments that I'm not too knowledgeable on. And so what's something that, like, I always get super anxious before I go? And, like, what's something that, like, you tell yourself before you go into a new environment and put yourself in a possibly life-changing experience.
We talked about it yesterday, and it was really cool. Hunter Vi was the first one that brought it up, but we all still get anxiety, and we still get nervous before we embark on a new gig or a new project. But for me, anxiety is not necessarily a bad thing. You can harness that into excitement, and also if I'm so nervous that I'm gonna screw up or miss something, it makes me not screw up or miss anything, because it's like I'm so kind of anxious about it. So that's never gonna go away, and you have to learn to live with that, deal with it, embrace it, and kind of channel it.
And when you process it the right way, just like Larry said, anxiety is that's actually your body's natural response to make your brain focus more, it's no different from, if a dog starts barking behind you, adrenaline starts pumping through your body because you need that energy to run. It's the same thing with anxiety. Anxiety starts pumping different chemicals through your brain, pumping different things through your body so that you can focus. So it's a good thing. It means you're passionate about what you're anxious about. And I think that's a great concept and theory, which is, that's something I tell people about being successful off the top is 9 times out of 10, you'll do the most growth when you put yourself in environments and situations that you're not used to. Like when it relates to where you want to decide to live after school, 9 times out of 10, if you go back home to the environment that you grew up in, your growth tends to be a little slower because you have all the comforts, all the distractions, you got the parents, all of that. But if you go somewhere that you've never lived before, 9 times out of 10, you'll do a whole lot of growing real fast. So I think that's a good thing.
You have to, and also, if you're prepared, if you're as prepared as you can be, then you have to trust, that you're gonna make it happen. If you're not prepared and you're anxious, then you're probably gonna be in trouble. But if you've made yourself as prepared as possible, and whatever it takes, and however much research and getting all the pieces in place, and you have a good plan, then you have to trust that anxiety isn't that you don't have the tools. It's just that what's about to happen is unknown. But if you're prepared, then you can go into it and with an excited energy, I think.
And then when all else fails, just say shit.
Or just start off with that.
One of the things that's gotten me pretty far that I've been surprised by as well is if you don't know, ask.
Yes.
Like it's not bad to say that you don't know as long as you're willing to put forth the work on the other side of that question.
Yes.
I think you also need to have so much command over your craft. So I think of it like singing. What do you need to be a good singer? Do you need a good microphone? Or you just need to be a good singer? Or does the environment affect you? Or can you sing as well outside or inside? Is it dependent on anything? It's dependent on you. So if you're going to change into a new venue every now and then, and some better than others and some worse than others, if you're doing show production, you have to be so much in control so that when there's a change, it's easy for you to adapt because you've done your homework so well. So it's the same thing. For me, it's like 2 schools. It's like knowing how to drive versus what you drive. So what you drive is like the venue that you change every day. But what you do, that stays very consistent and that does not change. So I do not become a better singer if I go and sing in the parking lot or only when I go in the studio. I'm just a good singer or I'm a great singer, and that stays no matter where you go. So I kind of approach things like that where you have to be so prepared in every aspect. If you're a show producer, you have got to have a great team and a great plan and you'll do fine. You have to make it work, and that's the nature of show business. It's going to be different in every venue, every situation.
But definitely rest assured that we all have anxieties. That never goes away.
Yeah.
Not DJ Swivel. He told me yesterday he doesn't have it, but everybody else.
Everybody except Swivel.
Right, except for Swivel. I just want to go back to questions. Good questions, bad questions, dumb questions. Before you ask a mentor a question, please run it through Google and see if you can answer the question yourself. And if it can, and I swear, Google everything. And if you can answer that question yourself, then it'll probably lead to a better question that is more targeted. And then our perception of if you come and ask a question that we can tell that you've done some legwork and a little bit of homework, and you come with a really great question, then all of a sudden you get, kind of recategorized. But when a student comes up to me and asks me something, sometimes I will Google it after they walk away, and it takes literally like 2 seconds
And
to
you
get
know
the
what?
answer to that
To
question.
expand on that real quick, nothing just burns me up more than when and this is a true story. I had an intern probably about 6-7 months ago. He saw me walking in the hall, and somebody he was new, and he had his phone in his hand, and he says to me, somebody in another session sent him to Starbucks. He goes, "Oh man, Mr. Leslie, good to meet you. How you doing? Da da da. Do you know is there a Starbucks around here?" I wanted to just kill myself. Like, I was like, "Are you kidding me? You have your phone in your hand. Google it. Like, don't waste. I'm walking down the hall to go do something, and don't waste my time with a question that your phone can answer."
And that guy,
You can talk to your phone. You can be like, "Siri, is there Starbucks?" And the phone will answer you back. You don't even have to put in any effort. You don't even have to type it. So it just,
he blew it. That guy blew it. He had a chance. He had an opportunity
Oh my
to
gosh.
approach Leslie, and in that moment, could have asked a question, that could have changed his whole life. And now, the next time that guy comes up to Leslie, he's in the schmuck category.
Yeah, because he can't find Starbucks.
Schmuck a bad word? I don't know.
He had a phone.
I think that's
All right, our last question is coming to us from our YouTube channel.
Oh.
Thank you, gentlemen. For online students, how can mentorship work in the best way?
Well, I mean, I think it's, you might not have face-to-face with instructors here, but it's the same thing. I mean, you need to do some research. You need to find out who's doing what you want to be doing and doing it successfully, and you need to find a way to approach them in a way that they will be receptive. Just because you're not here on campus.
And online, obviously, applicable would be the email conversation. Send an email. Send a complimentary email sometimes, or just send an email with a short, brief question, or, email, that's pretty much the approach.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the in-person community, but it's still a community and still lines of communication. So you have different tools online than we do in person. Like we've grown up, we're chatting now, but online you've got forums, you've got blogs, you've got email, you've got chats. Like, use those tools. You still need to be surrounding yourself with your peers and with people that are inspiring you, and you need to be reaching out to those people and learning and absorbing and sharing as much as possible. It's a different medium, but it's still the exact same conversations.
Do some research, find out who the right person is to approach, and then think about the approach. Really have a wise and well thought out approach. And also, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just, this is the guy, I have to hear from this guy, and if I don't hear from that person, then, that's it. But, you should have 10 people that you approach, and think of a specific personalized approach to each one of them. And if you hear back from all 10, that's awesome. If you hear back from 1 or 2, that's probably more in line with what you can expect. Is that it? We're done? Okay, wrapping it up, guys. Thank you very much.
Shit.
Thank you. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, Ashish. That was awesome.
That car analogy thing.